You'll need 3 short bones, 2 that are 1.5 inches long, 1 that is 2 inches long. All of them are steel, like this one. About 12 inches of bone tape. Press-on interfacing, 15 inches by 32 inches. Bias face fabric, 15 inches by 32 inches. Bias for the lining, 5.5 inches by 32 inches. Cut 2 layers of stiff stuff with no seam allowance top and bottom, but 2 inches at center back, and wonder under them together. Wonder under has a paper side and a sticky side. Press the sticky side to your fabric. Peel the paper away and then press the other piece of stiff stuff down. If there's any chance that wonder under extends beyond the stiff stuff in any place, put a piece of muslin down on the ironing board first so that you don't make the ironing board sticky. Cut a length of bone tape 1 inch wider than the belt. Fold 1/2 inch under on each end. Stitch a long side, a short side, and a long side. Slide the bone in and then close the casing. Put the belt on the dress form with the bones next to the body. The center front sits at the waist. By the side seam, the bottom of the belt is at the waist, and it continues that way around to the back. Cut the belt so that there is no seam allowance at center back on the right side and 2 inches on the left. This belt is a little bit big for my dress form, so the overlap is a little bit larger. Put the press on what will be the outside of the fabric to smooth the lines from the stitching of the quilting and the stitching of the bones. Trim, clip, and wrap the tricot around the belt and press again. Press the face fabric, fold it in half, and thread mark the center. Put the belt back on the dress form. Starting at center front, drape the face fabric onto the belt. Take it off the dress form and tack the interior of the pleats where the pins are. You may do either flat pleats or artful scrunching, but in either case, leave the pins closest to the edge when you're done tacking. Trim, clip, wrap the seam allowance to the inside and pin it in place. Pin the belt to the ironing board, pulling it so it lays nice and flat, and give it some steam. Put it back on the dress form. Make sure what you have is still pretty. If it's not, fix any ugly spots. Cross stitch the seam allowance on the long sides first. Trim the back seam allowances to 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, then whip stitch in place and cheat the corners in from the edge just a bit so you can put the lining down on top without a raw edge showing. Fold the lining in half, match up center front to center front, pin it in place. An alternative technique, if you know that your belt will never be altered, is to put hooks and loops on before you line it, have no seam allowance at center back, and then slide the lining over to clean it. It's very pretty, but it's not easy to alter.